So yeah, Genshin did it. We all thought that Genshin could never, but it seems like Genshin could. The little Genshin that could. So what am I talking about? Well, if you don't see the screen, I'm talking about the increased original resin cap. It finally happened. Took them, I feel like, 3 years too long, but then again, at launch it was increased from 120 to 160. So I guess, but I do feel like this was kind of overdue for at least like a year, right? Like maybe when we started Sumeru, we could have gotten this with the insane amount of artifact domains that we were having at that point, even with the existence of the strong box, right? But yeah, now my main question, or well, at least a question on everyone's minds, is I feel like, was this a response to Wuthering Waves? It's possible. Wuthering Waves is releasing in around 12 hours at the point I'm recording this, so we're very close to that release, and I'm kind of starting to get excited for it because it's going to be a new game, right? It's going to be similar in gameplay to Genshin, which is a gameplay loop I actually have been enjoying for a while now. Well, ever since I started playing in 2.1, but yeah, you know what I mean. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, but we're not talking about that. So, original resin cap increase. Dear travelers, the latest development has arrived. There is a development discussion. Starting from version 4.7, the cap of original resin will be increased to 200. Yes, Paimon, we can craft 5 resins at once. Now, my question kind of is, does this also mean that we get to the cap in the same amount of time, or is it going to be 200 in 24 hours? That's kind of like my question, because right now the 160 resin cap does not take 24 hours to fill in. That's kind of like my question. How does this work? Are they going to reduce the amount it takes for each resin bit to replenish, or what? Because I've skimmed through this and I don't think I've seen it before. So I guess that's going to be a big question. But yeah, this is going to be really nice, but I have kind of a bigger question here. Why aren't we getting the overflow? Why aren't we getting the power or the / resin overflow that Honkai Star Rail has? As you might all know, Honkai Star Rail released with not only a 240 Trailblaze power cap, but also a Trailblaze power overflow. Now, I feel like there's this whole thing that in a way it's a lot it takes a lot longer to farm good artifacts and to also farm for characters in Star Rail. So you could say that that is maybe one of the reasons why they started at 240 with the overflow. So I guess you could have that as an explanation. But the fact that the overflow is not yet in Genshin feels really weird, because with the overflow, which would be very nice for some players who want to take a break to, you know, take the 1 month, 2 months break, a patch or 2 patch break, and then when they come back and they get a new character, they could just build that character from scratch with that 2000 resin or so that you would get from the overflow, which would be really nice. Plus, it takes longer, if I recall correctly, in Star Rail for an overflow Trailblaze power to be created compared to a normal Trailblaze power. I think it takes half an hour of being offline for it to be created, but I'm not entirely sure. So the fact that we got a resin cap increase is really nice. I wonder what that actually will mean for the game itself, because in reality this is like 2 extra artifacts a day, or 2 extra runs of 1 more boss a day, 1 more a talent or weapon material, 2 more talent or weapon and material runs a day. It's going to make it faster in a way, only if you didn't log twice a day already to always use the resin and never have it cap, or if the resin replenish is faster, becomes faster. So in the same amount that it takes right now for the 160 resin to replenish, it takes the same amount of time for the 200 to be. If the 200 just extends that timer, so now I don't even know how long it takes. I think it's 18 hours, 16 hours. So now let's say 16. So now if it takes 16 hours to get 160 resin, and it's going to take 20 hours to get 200 resin, it's going to be no actual difference in the amount of resin you get on a daily basis. It's just going to make it better for players to actually be able to use their entire resin in a day by increasing the cap and not having it overflow, because you might be at work, you might be at school, you might have something to do in real life, and your resin would hit 160. But now, since it's at 200, it goes to 200, and you have a couple extra hours to get in game and actually use the resin before it goes to cap. But yeah, it's a good change. It's not going to do major changes. It's gonna mainly do to the in-game stuff. It's mainly gonna be major changes to how players generally use resin and how much of it and when they log in, but that's kind of about it. Now we have increased enhancement materials and food cap. When 4.6 was updated, did you notice that the devs increased the inventory limit for open enhancement materials from 10,000 to 100,000? I did actually. I upgraded my Al-Haytham's weapon to 90, and I had 10,420 ores, and I was like, why did I never get a new? Why did I never get the inventory full thing? And that's when I realized, and when I read this, I realized, oh god, they did it. They increased the amount of weapon enhancement material you can have, which is actually really cool, because if you're a long-time player, you will 100% have a lot of weapon enhancement materials, especially if you craft the 20 that the 20 you need for the weekly battle pass stuff and everything. I did end up at 10,000 multiple times and had to delete 200, 300 weapon enhancement materials at a time to make space for more, because as newer areas come out, well, more weapon enhancement material can be found in the chests. Likewise, the limits for forging words, character XP materials, and artifact enhancement materials will also be increased in the new version. Okay, so nice, so you get more. And the limit for ingredients will be increased from 2,000 to 10,000 to prevent situations. Okay, I didn't even know that the ingredients had a 2,000 limit. That's interesting. Increased friends cap. The friends cap has been increased again. Starting from 4.7, you can add up to 100 friends. What even is the cap today? I wonder. Never really had to add enough people to actually hit the cap, but this is actually kind of cool. You can have more and more people. That's nice. And next is recommended stats function for artifact custom configuration. That's a mouthful. So, since the Fast Equip Artifacts feature was launched, the developers have been paying close attention to your feedback and experience to optimize this function accordingly. To help you quickly conveniently assemble a set of artifacts starting from 4.7, the recommended stats feature will be added to the Fast Equip custom configuration. This feature will automatically fill in recommended stats and attributes based on data from active players in the game. Oh, I get it. Okay, so before you could only do like, okay, that's cool. You can do custom, you can get recommended stats in custom configuration. But isn't that exactly what like Fast Equip does now? Wasn't that what okay, maybe I'm stupid, but yeah, that is cool. Again, still no proper artifact loadouts. Again, I still want, even if it's like 5 total loadouts that you can create and share between all characters, I still want them, because again, there are some characters that can use multiple different artifacts. For example, take Toma. Toma can either go for a shield bot or a Burgentine. And now there's a burning set that came out that might be decent on Toma, and maybe then again, does burning scale with EM? Anyway, so Toma, for example, has 2 sets that he can go on, maybe with a 3rd one on its way. Raiden can go EM as a driver in Hyperbloom or as a full-blown DPS. You know, you could go for some supports. You can either use Noblesse Oblige or Instructor set I've seen people use, like on Bennett, depending on the build they're doing. So yeah, there are a bunch of characters that can use multiple builds. I know the majority of players don't use multiple builds on characters. The majority of players are building Raiden as a full-blown main DPS rather than an EM driver. And then they build Cookie as the EM driver for Hyperbloom or Fischl or whatever. But still, I do wish that loadouts will come one day, because they're just going to make things easier, I feel, for late game players. And yeah, it's going to be mainly for late game players, but come on, we've had a lot of like quality of life changes for new players. Why not have some for late game players? But yeah, and unfortunately, that's about it. Like it's cool, but like this is a very small change that I feel like. So the weapon enhancement material was changed in 4.6. So the thing that is changing now, it's forging ores, XP materials, and artifact enhancement material. Oh, I don't even have that. So this is talking about the little bottles that you can get, right? I guess this would be cool if you could destroy, just like in Star Rail, if you could destroy your artifacts and you would get artifact enhancement material. That'll be cool. But since that's not a thing, how do you hit the cap? Forging ores, I do understand, because since you can send people on expeditions, so that does make sense why you would increase that. And I guess character XP materials can also be farmed every day, so yeah. Oh god, I know that there were some players who were like boasting about getting to the limit for character XP materials. Or maybe that was just more, getting a ton of more. But anyway, now the limit being increased, oh god. But yeah, now that's about it for this video as well. If you did enjoy the content, why not leave a like, comment, or even subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.